Laundrie, meant for Brian Laundrie, encased in some sort of an envelope of some kind. It said on it, "Burn after you read this." That was basically, in essence, the big letters that were the big message tied to this letter. And the letter, as it has been revealed through court documents, is that this letter contained details about a shovel and helping bury a body. Now, this goes back to when this story was the story across the country, when people were gravitating towards this story, people who believed that the Laundries were well aware of everything that was going on, and that they weren't talking, and it was for the reason of that they knew so much and they didn't want to say what they knew. Of course, that they were dealing with everything that was going on in real time with Brian Laundrie's disappearance, and then, of course, when his remains were found. But the big thing here is that this letter does, in fact, exist. It was FBI evidence. The FBI collected this evidence over the course of their investigation, a letter that Roberta is said to have wrote to Brian, and we hope to get this letter at some point, just like we got the confession from Brian Laundrie, the 8 pages in the notebook. But this letter that Roberta wrote to Brian that says something about a shovel and helping bury a body. Stephen Bertolino, the attorney for the Laundrie family, has indicated to us, as I just check my phone, make sure I'm not getting any text messages from anybody watching the stream right now. Stephen Bertolino has communicated to us that the letter does exist. They do have it. It's still in their possession. It hasn't been destroyed. It's of course, it's been mentioned in this lawsuit that exists between the two families, but that the letter itself doesn't have anything to do with the Gabby Petito case, and that it predates everything. And I asked very specifically to Pat Riley, the attorney for the Petito and Schmidt families, is there any date or any mention specifically of Gabby Petito or anything that tells us what time frame this was written in? And the answer is no. So the FBI had this evidence. And the question is, people have been asking me repeatedly on social media when I post about this story, is that why the FBI didn't pursue charges against Chris and Roberta Laundrie, the mother and father of Brian Laundrie.
Well, this was the problem, I believe. Currently, they need to show a preponderance of the evidence. And this letter in and of itself should push them over. It was very convenient that there was no date on that letter, so Mr. Bertolino can again shuck and jive and try to say that that letter related to something that had nothing to do with Gabby Petito, even though it says burn after reading, and even though she was murdered viciously, and it involved a shovel, and it's just ridiculous, honestly. But the Bureau and the prosecution team, the United States Attorney, would have had to prove beyond any doubt. And my question would be, was this letter even ever given to Brian Laundrie? Did it end up in his hands?
Let's say it didn't. Let's say it didn't. Let's say the FBI uncovers this evidence, and it's a letter that Roberta meant to give to her son Brian, and it contains details about a shovel and the burying of a body. Even if it's not delivered to Brian, is that people would ask, well, isn't that proof that they were aware of Gabby's murder all along, and that they were, withholding information from investigators and so on and so forth?
Well, certainly that they were withholding information, certainly that they had knowledge, but they are entitled to their Fifth Amendment right, and they never made false statements to law enforcement. If they would have, we'd be, I believe they would have been charged, but they never said anything. And so, therefore, the charge just didn't exist to charge, just based on that letter.
If the FBI has the evidence and they believe that a crime was committed, and they have the evidence that concludes that a crime was committed, they're going to proceed with charges, right? I mean, the fact 100%. That they had this evidence in their possession and then discharged it back to Stephen Bertolino, who gave it back to the families, or still has it in his possession, as I understand it, so that there's no, they were going to, if they could have proceeded with criminal charges, they would have.
Exactly. Dick Ludwig, who was my mentor for 10 years,